supposed to be here.
I'm not
Episode
supposed
2.
to be here.
Episode 2.
Somebody help me.
Yo, first shout out of the episode. Shout out to Wilhelm for hanging in there
Wilhelm?
with
Yeah,
us.
we'll help.
You know,
Yeah.
he's never lost a step of enthusiasm, and I love that from episode 1 to episode 2.
You know him when you hear him. Does anybody have any context to where that originated? The
don't know.
Wilhelm scream.
I think that was like from Star Wars.
I think it was used in
predates.
Star Wars.
It was
but
used
it was definitely probably
it was
before Star
popularized with
Wars.
Star Wars, but I don't remember who screamed like that first. But there is a history. I did watch a video on it.
Really?
Yeah,
I think
I've
it's like
seen a short
30s
video.
style, right? Like
yeah, something. Like
Yeah, it was some.
yeah.
when
the
the
history of
talkies
film.
came around.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I watched like the first movie the other day on HBO Max. I think.
Star Wars.
No,
Wait,
no,
the
no.
first movie like ever?
First movie ever made.
I think it was like a clip of like a running horse or something.
Oh, I think I've seen that too.
Wait,
Yeah,
it's on
that
HBO
one's
Max?
amazing.
Well, there was another one. It was like the first. It was like one of the first movies. It was like a restored movie, and it was like a trip to like the moon.
Wait, I know
you
what
know
you're
which one?
talking
And
about.
the moon
It's like
crashes in his eye.
yeah.
I saw, and the clip is on HBO Max. So
That's crazy.
you
You
can
know-
watch it. It's
Yeah,
like
I know what you're talking
13, 15 minutes.
My girlfriend and I, we were watching that, but like we honestly turned it off because it was kind of scary. Like
It was scary.
Yeah, it'll scare you.
It is scary.
It'll scare
it's
you.
like
It is scary.
really
It's-
intense, like masks and like
It's creepy.
costumes.
Like, what the hell
yeah.
were people doing back then?
It feels
For
very
sure.
scary because I think the plot is like some scientists are trying to go. Mind you, this is like 13s, 20s maybe. So the concept of space flight is like such a crazy thing that they had such an idea to like try to go to the moon first.
Mm.
Like, you could have done any planet, but like I don't know. I guess it's very natural because we look at it every day.
yeah,
But like just like having a little rocket ship go to the moon, it's like such a cool idea that they had in the 1913.
It really is, yeah.
1913,
Wow.
1920s film. I don't remember
Wow.
the year, but like really early on films.
Mm.
yeah. that's
And
crazy.
also, little tidbit, that style of filming, like from I think it was an era of like I forgot it was from Germany. I don't remember the specific movement, but that movement influences noir films
Mm.
and with the dark high
Mm.
contrast shadows, and then
Oh,
that
wow.
those lead to like movies of like Blade Runner, like neo noir.
Oh, wow.
And like cyberpunk aesthetic came from that,
Mm.
like mixed with that, and the Batman comes from like noir and stuff.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it does make
so
sense.
imagine
It is
like
pretty.
art that was made from a long time ago really does influence the culture. So
it does. It does.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna cut you off though,
yeah, that's not the topic of our
'Cause
episode.
Here we are playing our
because
part.
I'm just gonna introduce us because we're already getting into the shit. All
Oh,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
we're here with
Woo! You could say Christian.
yeah Christian,
Christian
aka
slash-
Eclectic Sage,
Yes, eclectic sage. We're still getting used to
or
the name.
Electric Sage,
Electric stage. Electric stage.
and we're also here with
Lucas MG.
and
All self-title.
I'm just Trent.
I'm
That's
just
it. I'm just here.
I'm
I'm
just
just
Trent.
here.
I'm just Trent.
I'm
Sounds
just here
like a
for the
fire
vibes.
brand.
Yeah, I'm just Trent. And today's topic at hand is not the moon,
Yeah, no.
but goddamn if it could be.
Mm.
But maybe at a later time. We are talking about artificial intelligence.
Woo!
Hey.
This is my forte.
Whoa.
Shouts out to the robots, our robot overlords who will take over and hopefully don't kill us but make us slaves. Shout out to you guys. So this is gonna be a hot episode.
There we are.
Go ahead and let us know what artificial intelligence is.
Okay, let me bust out the definition
let's
that
start
I
off
have
there.
Googled. Great display from a
Artificial
from a
intelligence.
computer science major. So, for me, this is a very nuanced question and very important to the modern world. So that's why I was like, we have to talk about artificial intelligence. But according to this site that I'm using, that I will not name because you guys will laugh,
It starts with a.
starts with a W.
Hey.
It's good at definitions. It's intelligence perceiving, synthesizing, and inferring information, and is demonstrated by machines or non-human animals, and is not human itself.
So put that in summarized layman's
Yeah, I was
terms.
gonna say, what does that mean to you? How does that?
See, so this is where the definition. I don't think you could define artificial intelligence. That's my hot take, because what is intelligence?
Intelligence to me is, I guess, some sort of proven wisdom, if you will. Um, the ability to put practice methods of effort into a successful manner, if that makes any linear sense there.
Yeah. So what do you think, Trent?
Um, I guess
Lean in.
artificial intelligence would be, or rather, intelligence, because that's what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
The ability to prove thought.
Yeah.
To simply put, that's the simplest form.
Yeah. I feel like intelligence is it's a very difficult thing to capture because let's say something that is unthinking has intelligent design. So there is this thing. This is a little tangent, but I think it will circle back. There's this concept in science, and it's called emergent patterns, right? And so it looks at very small units um, of things. So let's take like a cell, right? A cell by itself is a dumb, unthinking machine, right? It just takes in information, inputs, sugars, lipids, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to be like completely correct with this analogy, but it takes in, let's say, information
Mm-hmm.
and then processes it. But it's not. We wouldn't say like a cell is intelligent. But if you get a group of cells, then they form tissue. Tissue's not intelligent, but then a group of tissues form organs, and then organs form people, and then people form societies, and then societies kind of mix with each other. So like as you scale up, where does the intelligence kind of come in? And it's like they kind of move like the emergent pattern is basically like as unthinking units of things group together, um, they form like a larger sum of itself that is indescribable in terms of like the amount, but then go on to create something that is capable of higher level functions. So I bring that up because that's somewhat of what artificial intelligence is, because a computer doesn't think. It's like it's an unthinking machine coded with zeros and ones for binary code, and it's not intelligent per se, because even like artificial intelligence, as we'll talk about like later with like machines that are coming out now, the artificial intelligence is specialized around specific task. So if we look at it like the biology perspective again, um, let's say like evolution, is that like intelligence? I think evolution's like intelligent natural design of like survival as like the world as like species adapt to the environment, and then that type of thing kind of it goes through multiple iterations, and that's what artificial intelligence does and via machine learning. So like machine learning is just you give a robot a one task like playing chess, and it plays chess a bajillion times, and then the artificial intelligence software would be like
Kind of picks up a pattern. Is that
yeah,
right?
it's basically like pattern seeking for machine learning. That's what machine learning is for some artificial intelligence.
Wasn't there some sort of, or not some sort of, but there was like a story of like the most world-renowned chess player, and he
Yeah.
went up against a machine, I believe, and
Yeah.
and something to the effect of like he retired forever after the machine.
Yeah,
that
but
ass, no?
it took the machine a while to beat him, I think.
But
from
didn't
what
he
I
like
remember.
permanently retire after being?
I don't know
defeated by
about
a
I don't know
machine?
about I don't know about that. Probably because
Um,
you know I feel like I feel like if I made my life I'm a chess player and I got beat up by a machine, I'll feel some type of way. I'll feel a little.
Like he was like the
you
best.
might flip a table or two over
Yeah.
on the way out. You know.
I thought I had heard that, and again, I have ultimately peripheral knowledge of AI, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I think of when I hear the name or the phrase is like, I guess I kind of think of I mean I guess yeah, I kind of think of it as like a cumulative knowledge that we have put out into the world. And the way I see it, again, from a limited understanding, is it can kind of just auto, like, I guess like Chat GPT, for example, doesn't it just like
Yeah.
filter through every bit of the internet in like 0.3 seconds and then spits out a comprehensive answer.
Yeah, and
Mm.
that's also another aspect because, right, perceiving and synthesizing, as like I said in the definition. So like, if you were to look at a person as like a baby, right? A baby has like an intelligence to it, but it's kind of like
It's
le-
kind of dumb.
it's
very
kind
malleable,
yeah,
I guess.
like babies are dumb. That's my hot take. Like
No.
babies are dumb, but as they mature and they're exposed to more information, they retain information, and then they're able to have conversations. Like I was a baby, but I'm able to tell you this stuff now.
Mhm.
So when you look at artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT, that's like the recent one, at least as far as like this recording goes. That one recently just like hit
It's
the
gonna be
market.
outdated in like 3 months.
Yeah, which is another aspect I want to talk about, which is really
yes,
cool.
yes.
That's part of. I hope we can fit all this in time, but yeah. So perceiving and synthesizing, you have the internet being scraped of knowledge, the internet being your repository of like thoughts. But like imagine that as like a computer's memory or like a person's memory, and it's just like you just escape through things and then put different things together.
The internet is a repository of thoughts is crazy.
Yes.
Very,
That's-
very well said. And that's ultimately what it is.
Yeah, that's yeah, this
It's a great way to think of it. But sorry, continue.
no, that was so profound. When I say then that was
Yeah,
very profound.
That's the
That was right. You stumped me for a second. You stumped me for a
That's the
second.
period. So question
Yeah.
then: would intelligence be, I guess, going against programming? Like, would intelligence for human be doing something that doesn't contribute to our survival, our propagation? Like,
Hmm.
would that be? Do you think that is a
Ver-
satisfactory definition of intelligence?
I feel like that's one aspect of intelligence. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the most I feel like the to make it easier, the most inclusive way of defining intelligence, it may seem stupid, is taking in an input and creating a different output. And that's intelligence to me. So it doesn't make sense, but it'll make sense as we scale up and talk about different things. So I want to talk about a Turing machine. So this is something that I was joking about earlier, but
Mhm.
for my major I have to take this class called Theory of Computation, and it talks about how whether or not something can be computed, like an algorithm, right? And everyone like in the movies they're like, "Oh my gosh, I have to." Well, I'm gonna hold that thought. Before I go into that, what are your thoughts about like artificial intelligence in the media? Because that's a good that informs a lot of people's
No,
like
absolutely,
experience in
absolutely.
terms of what AI is before I start talking about Turing machines.
So, speaking for myself, my first interactions with artificial intelligence are always movies, television shows, books.
I got a good one.
You know,
Yeah.
thinking about, of course, Terminator 2, T-1000. The machines are going to
Yeah.
take over, and where apparently we're gonna either die out completely or become slaves, like the Matrix.
Yeah.
A lot of, and I think that is probably the most simplistic form because it's sexy. It arouses something in people, some sort of fear that eventually we're gonna build something greater than us. Something
Yeah,
that's gonna
I feel like that's also like generally speaking that's it's a projection because we
Absolutely.
see ourselves as being very damaging.
Mhm.
So like imagine
Mm.
if it's like Frankenstein, like Marie Shelley or Marie Shelley. Yeah, Mary
yeah,
Shelley.
Mary Shelley.
Yeah, Mary Shelley. She hit like a node with Frankenstein, and I always tell my people like in my major like we are living the story of Frankenstein. Like you have to be very very careful. And speaking of
Mm.
ChatGPT, like I think this was like relatively recently that he was talking about the propagation of a bunch of different AI algorithms that are mimicking the same thing
Mm-hmm.
for open AI, but like the ethical concerns because when you do like certain prompts and stuff is like, oh, we cannot do that, that's illegal, this thing. But let's say like some person just because there's ways to just scrape the methods that are used to create the intelligence, and then create your own machine for yourself. Have it, or like if it's leaked or something, and then it could be used for it's like a tool. It's like I think 2001: A Space Odyssey does tools justice, because it's like the opening part where the monkey gets the bone, and the bone is like the first tool because he like murders the other ape, and then he shows his dominance, and then Stanley Kubrick has the ape throw the thing in the air,
and then it
transitions to a spaceship. And I think that's perfect to what technology is like as a concept when we're talking about like artificial intelligence and stuff. And yeah, that those tools in general could be used ethically or unethically. Like a hammer can build a house, but it could also take a life. And depending on how you like structure or frame stuff, it could be a lot. But what was I saying before?
I think we were just getting a general background.
Yeah, we were talking
on
about
AI.
our experience with AI and the
Oh, yeah.
media.
What's
our introductions?
What's your
Me,
intro?
so again, 30 years old. I'm a product of ultimately the early 2000s. That was my my time of
Shout
formation.
out early
and
2000s.
Shout out early 2000s.
Shout out to the early 2000s.
Honestly.
Those are good years.
Good.
I hope everybody can hear the screaming guy that we've coined Wilhelm. by
Yeah,
now,
because he
so.
comes in like the second half, and when
Yes.
you think the clip is about to end, he just comes profusely. Yes, like
So next
wholeheartedly.
time we hit, keep an ear out for that. But yeah. So being a product and an adolescent of like the early 2000s, I know this is gonna strike a chord for some people. Those of us who were on AOL Instant Messenger.
Wow.
Christian, I think this precedes your day.
This precedes me, but I know what it is.
Where I'm going with this?
No, because I like the history of the internet. So
Okay, yeah.
I know it's like the
it's
little yellow guy.
It's so close too, which is crazy how close the dawn of all this is. But anyways,
yeah.
My first interaction, and this really just kind of struck me now as we were talking about our first impressions of AI. But for those who remember Smarter Child. Smarter Child.
What is this?
Really? You've never heard of this?
I've never heard of this.
Wow.
Please put me on.
Yeah. So again, is a little
I love
bit
that we're different ages.
a little. I know it honestly brings. So
I feel
much
like it
insight.
adds so much because I just
Do you
genuinely
know
get
Smarter
surprised.
Child or
Smarter
no?
Child, it does not ring a bell.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
I
so
remember like AIM buddies and stuff.
yes. So AIM, AOL Instant Messenger. I mean, this is texting on like an internet dial-up computer. Shout out to all my youngins out there, y'all.
Oh my!
y'all,
People of my
y'all don't know what
generation
it
do
is.
not know what a dial-up is. I had to figure that. My dad had to teach me what that was.
It's archaic at this point in time.
Shout out to the dial-up sounds, because that immediately sends me into nostalgia.
Yeah.
Having to wait for the internet to load up.
Yeah, nobody could be on the phone. I mean, it's timeless.
Can't get calls.
Material at this point. Yeah,
Yeah, like it's baked into the culture of nostalgia.
it really is. But yeah. So AOL Instant Messenger, AIM. Of course, you have all of your friends, all of your contacts that you would be chatting with on the family computer. At least in my case. But anyway, Smarter Child. Smarter Child was like it was an auto-generated like messenger. So it was like you're chatting with your friends from wherever. Again, this is groundbreaking at the time. You'd be chatting with somebody across the world, mostly just your school friends, all that good stuff. But there was like a bot where it was Smarter Child, and you could just like speak to or communicate via text with the bot, and you could ask it like a wide series of questions. Given it had a pretty narrow response capability, but you could ask it like, oh, like, what are you, a human or are you a robot? And it would be like, oh, I'm a robot, and then have this kind of like, maybe quirky answer alongside with it. But now that I think of it, that was I truly think that you could deem that artificial intelligence as well.
I mean, that's
look that up.
so.
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, we have to have a residential man. James Dean, pull that up.
Hey, yo, Jamie, right?
Like, I think that's a form of artificial intelligence.
You know
but
what?
like
sorry to interrupt. I have one thing that I was that came to
Give me
mind
it.
while you were talking. It sounds a little familiar, Smarter Child, which is
Okay.
an interesting name.
Look it up,
Smarter
yeah.
Child. But
That is an interesting.
the most obvious answer, which I didn't think about, video games.
Yeah.
Like I've been playing video games for a long time, and how you interact with the NPCs
Yeah.
is crazy, and it's
Mhm.
come a long way. But that's definitely one of my first and
True.
very deep interactions with artificial intelligence. But I'm sorry, what were you saying,
Are-
Christian?
Are you looking up Smarter Child?
Yeah, I'm looking at Smarter Child.
What is it?
What's
What does it
Smarter
say?
Oh, I have seen this image, but
Let me see the image.
yeah, it's just.
Does
it's
it have
just
an image with it? I didn't know there was an image.
Oh, I've never seen that shit before.
I've never seen that either. But
I've seen it in the deep
What it- what it-
recesses of the internet.
what does it say of like the
It was a chat bot.
chatbot?
Yeah, so chat.
Could one interpret that as AI?
Using my definition, yes, but
Okay.
there will be sticklers in the future that'll be like that is definitely not
think-
because you have a programmable intelligence. So
Okay.
programmable intelligence means that like given a certain output, given a certain input, a specific output is always outputted. It's kind of like a function. Like if you
Okay.
put in, I don't know, x plus 2, like there's every x has a y,
Mm.
or like 1 plus 2 is gonna always equal 3.
So like basically, Smarter Child had like a cap limit. Like it
Yeah,
could only
like
go
there's a
so
limit.
far.
But then we get to the question of how much, how big of a limit does something have to have in order to be like really intelligent?
Mm.
Because like the scope of the internet, no matter how big it is, like it could be bajillion. Like imagine how many neurons we have in our head. Like we have like a bajillion, like a bunch of neurons and stuff. Like a bunch of,
Mhm.
we're composed of a lot of cells and whatnot. And but we have like a limit. Like I'm not
Mhm.
growing new neurons every day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody could like quote me on that, but
Yeah.
don't quote me on that. But like the point remains like we exist within limits. So but we're still consider ourselves sentient and
Mhm.
intelligent. So that's why I'm like the definition for artificial intelligence kind of weird. That's why I was like something that could take an input and an output. And I guess the one distinction is it could do it in a manner that surprises the programmers, I guess, or it leads to surprising results. I don't know if that's an
Mm.
accurate way, but I feel like it's a very human way to understand it.
So as we kind of catalog our memories of first interactions with AI, being a being born in really the turn of the millennium, and somebody who didn't experience I guess directly at the current time, the first initial onsets of AI or like the speed up of technology, as somebody again born in the early 2000s, what initially drew you to technology and ultimately AI?
So my dad was like very much into gaming and everything and like technology and always being like I think they have a term for it, but the person that like a digital pioneer or something, like someone that grabs the first type of technology as soon as it's emerging. So he always like had technology or not like right in front of him. Always like, and he always told me like I remember playing like the pinball game and stuff like on my Windows like XP
Oh, wow.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I
like
remember that too.
and I also like analog stuff. Like I also,
What does that mean?
so analog is like anything that's not digital. So
Mm.
like like technology that's like more so like gears and levers and switches and stuff like that. I didn't do like any crazy like engineering switches. Like I remember I went to this conference one time and some dude like just dismantled stuff in his garage like his childhood. Like I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that guy, but I did like watching videos and learning the history of like the internet and different things.
Hmm.
And yeah, so my interaction with AI, well, I interact with AI on the phone. Like your phone has like a lot of AI
Absolutely.
algorithms and
Sure.
stuff like that, like Siri. Like that's AI. I mean,
True. Yeah.
we kind of relegate AI to being like something that speaks back to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's I guess the common like intention of like artificial intelligence is this like, hey, it's something that is human, but like is not because it's not like artificial. Because it's like not coming from like human flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like where it comes from. But the problem is like the distinction kind of goes wild. Like let's say, I don't know, there's this show called Alter Carbon. It's just like these guys they go through their life. They have a little chip on the side of their head, and then let's say I don't know, the MTA strikes me after being like delayed or whatever, and then they take the little chip out the side of my head, and then they just put it on like Trent's forehead, and then I am Trent with all of Christian's memories, and it's just like
Mhm.
that. It sounds more interesting. The show is I have not finished the show. I've tried multiple times, but
Oh,
yeah,
I've heard of that show too. Is that a no?
yeah,
What's it called?
Yeah.
yeah.
I know
It's on Netflix. We can shout out Netflix.
yeah. Shout out.
No
Netflix.
shout outs to Netflix. They struggle around. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
They're
But canceling a bunch of shows.
Yeah,
but
but
we're
I
not
didn't know
talking
that.
about Netflix.
not talking. Well, Netflix uses artificial intelligence for suggesting, changing
Algorithms?
Algorithms. It uses algorithms. So algorithms, kind of leads me to the Turing machine that I want to talk about. So, Alan Turing, 1936. So imagine computers have been with us for a while, or the thought of
Coming
it.
up on a century, I suppose. huh?
Basically, I mean, the concept of a tool that works universal, like everyone, like even in the movies and stuff, like a tool that solves anything or is adaptable and changeable to everything is like a part of like the human concept. Once you're able to make tools, like, hey, this hammer could hammer out this thing. Can this hammer do this thing? Well, why can't it? All right, I have to make something special for this one. Like the sewing machine, like it uses the same type of like simple machine as like a hammer. It takes the
Mhm.
thing, it goes to a nail, and it goes
Right.
up and down and repeated motion, but it does something different. So
Mhm.
imagine a machine that can do everything. Hence why we have the internet and everything, and phones and universal machines. Or how can we make it so that something's programmable and like malleable?
Mhm.
And that's where we get like the internet and a lot of like cool stuff like that, trying to create the universal machine.
So was Alan Turing, was he instrumental in where we are today?
Oh yes, yes.
For what reasons?
Oh man, so many. I mean, he helped with from my knowledge, he helped in I think it was World War II in deciphering messages and stuff. I'm not 100% on that one. But as far as like our conversation with artificial intelligence, yeah. So this is from Stanford. Turing machines, first described by Alan Turing in Turing 1936, are simple abstract computational devices intended to help investigate the extent and limitations to what can be computed. So, yeah, so it's read and write on tape. So I had to do this one time for my science class, well, for my theory of computation class, and I admit I got a 40% on the test out of 100. Not my greatest thing. Don't worry, I didn't fail the class yet. I'm still taking it.
Hey, you got this.
We got this. But I know my parents are going to be like, you got a 40? Oh my gosh. No, for a fact. But basically, it's like you have a roll of tape, and then you have like, it's kind of like ones and zeros, but instead of ones and zeros, you have blank and one. And basically, you use the tape to count, because a computer can't count. Like, you can look at something, like, you could look over here. I'm directing everyone's attention to the amount of candles. You see the two, okay. You see the candles, and like, you don't even have to look crazy hard to see that there's two candles on the desk. A computer cannot do that.
Is there two candles? I see a candle on the cup from my.
Oh, my fault. Maybe I'm a glitching in the matrix, because I thought that was a candle, but there's one candle on the desk.
That there is. The other object is a cup.
Yeah, it look kind of similar. I'm not gonna.
They do.
See, maybe the artificial intelligence in my head, like, it was like a captcha, and it was
Yeah.
like, please mark which one's a cup and which one's a candle, and I failed.
What's really gonna mess you up is like when I get up later and I start drinking from the candle. and-
Yeah, like, oh my,
God.
yeah, this
It's
we
some
gotta leave this.
weird stuff.
Yeah, we got. Oh my gosh. Well, he's drinking's fire. Like, oh my gosh, he's having a Jaeger bomb. Like, that's fireball.
Mixed in with candle wax.
Oh man, but anyways, this kind of is antithetical to my point, but you could look at something and be like, that's one of something, or that's one of the light. And a computer, usually without like artificial intelligence, or programmable intelligence in this sense, it can't count objects per se. all it can do is just like register an empty thing. So imagine you have like a bucket and like you have a bucket full of Legos and like you just start throwing the Legos in, uh, and the computer just understands that there's a bucket there. Whatever you throw in the bucket, it just displays what's in the bucket, but it doesn't know what's in the bucket.
Mm.
So artificial intelligence is not smart because a smart person will be like, "There's Legos in the bucket."
Mm-hmm.
We could tell the computer that there's Legos in the bucket, and it's like, okay, well, I'll accept Legos being an argument for what's in the bucket,
Mm-hmm.
but it can never cognizantly look at the bucket on its own and just be like, that's a bucket. It could just identify it based on previous information, which is kind of similar to how we do things, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not here to
I
now.
was about to make that same point, but
Which
go
which
on.
which is why I said artificial. That's why I said let me use the most broadest definition because if we use the textbook definition, it breaks down when you start poking at it
Mm.
because it's very hard to define because we're talking about like something that's really complicated, which is like we can't even tell what intelligence is, let alone what makes it artificial.
I mean, if it's so confusing and it's so well, not necessarily confusing, but if it's so limitless, and I mean, our experience in its own through our own two eyes is complicated enough. What exactly is it that we have this inclination towards needing it and like moving at this breakneck speed in unison with AI? What is it exactly that about AI and its services that we're so desperate to attain?
I think it's
Simplicity, because
I think it's some part like Trent was saying earlier, some part of like their fear response in terms of like wanting to create something. One it's basically like
so it's an artistic endeavor.
sort of. I see a art in it. I see
Okay.
but I feel like I said before, it's like Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein and then the relationship between Frankenstein and his monster is the culmination of what I think the pursuit of AI is, in the sense that
Which is
like
what
a
exactly?
morbid curiosity
Interesting.
and the ability to it's some part ego because like it's wanting to create life out of
Mm.
nothing, similar to some religious faiths.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go into depth because that's not the topic of the episode. But like some like just being able to have that God complex, like I created life from nothing or from sources like it's kind of like if you use like the Catholic faith, like I created you out of clay. In the Frankenstein thing, I created you out of mangled body parts to create something new, and I created life out of you.
You know, I would say, coming from a design background, I would say that desire to create, um, yeah, I mean, truly is intrinsic to just like the art form in general. Because, I mean, after laboring away for hours on end on like a piece that I'm designing, there is like a strong, uh, like confidence that comes along with like willing something into existence. You
Yeah.
know
I
what
would
I
say
mean?
pride.
Yeah,
Sense of
pride and like accomplishment in yeah, just creating something. But to, I guess, push the envelope on creating something, I mean, far beyond a garment, an article of clothing would be like, yeah, creating something sentient. But I don't know, could one argue that that's just like being prideful, like, oh, I'm going to create the craziest piece of technology that might shake the very landscape of mankind?
I think there's several ways you could come at it, like, but I feel like, generally speaking, from my perspective, like this may be like a slant to some artists, but I think we're
Oh,
all
shit.
I think we're all a little egoist. I think
Absolutely.
we're
You have
very
to be.
egoist. I think you have to be in order to want to create something.
Mm.
Like you have to be
You have
because
to-
you're basically putting your will to the universe or expressing your thing without
Yeah.
concern to anyone else. That's a little egoist.
yeah, you have to
Mm.
have a little pretension to sit down and say, okay, I want to make something that's worth
Yeah.
looking at, or something that's worth existing.
Mm.
I mean, if you want to break it down to its basic level, which I hate doing because it's kind of depressing. We're just
Yeah,
bored.
but we
That's it.
well,
We're
you know,
just humans
Yeah.
are bored. We're here with no direction.
I'm not supposed to be
So,
here.
Yeah.
we're not supposed to be here.
And I
But-
think that, yeah, that is a gentle nod to yeah, I think our bit of existentialism that we like to.
Yeah,
to
when you
nod
feel
to.
like you're not supposed to be here, you're gonna will some stuff that makes you feel like you're supposed to be here.
It's gonna
Mm.
bring
And I think
meaning to
that's-
your shit.
and you got to put meaning into it. So, when it comes to artificial intelligence and using like the Frankenstein framework, oh, that sounds like a fire book. Anyways,
Frankenstein framework
Frankenstein framework. That's
by
real.
Christian Felix.
Yay!
Hey.
Shout out to that. Anyways,
Shout out to that.
but yeah,
We were, I
Is-
believe we were highlighting, I guess just like what is the need for it ultimately.
yeah. So a lot of it is like, well, a lot of people create things out of good intentions. So everyone wants to
Hmm.
be the hero in the story, and well, generally speaking.
If I could be the
Ooh,
bring it, the
if I
devil's
could-
advocate.
yeah, if
Oh.
I could.
Bring it.
bring it.
Um,
We love the dissenting opinion.
It's like, I don't know. I feel like there can be some nefarious MFs in this tech industry who
Oh,
don't have
definitely.
the best interest invested for the general populace.
I think.
Yes,
I
I
think
think so.
though what Mr. Sage was getting at was the beginnings of those seem to be an intention of helping.
Mm.
And then later on, you get people who see that, who want to capitalize on it. That's when it starts to get a little funky. That's when it's like, okay, how can I make money off of this? You know, what can I do with this and sometimes it may
Yeah.
not even be it, but how can I hurt other people with this?
Yeah.
How can I gain more power or control from this?
Yeah.
While we're on the subject, let's give them their flowers. Who are some earnest pioneers of the technology field? If any that come to
AI
mind.
field specifically.
AI field, correct.
AI field.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Goodness.
Christian's cheering his hands for
Wow.
all listeners.
I'm rubbing my eye right now. Like this.
He's SMHing right now.
Yeah. This. You
But no, who would be some? I mean,
If you can
off
think of any.
off top of my head, I can't. But there are countless people who move very ethically, and it's a
Mm.
genuine concern, and they really they labor over it.
I
And
guess
they like put their heart and soul into it, like as like an artist like cries into an art piece or
mm,
something. Like there's people that put their whole life into like coding and dedicating stuff. So as a person who tends to be a little bit more structuralist in his critique of stuff, like looking at how the systems kind of incentivize or decentivize or coordinate certain behavior, I feel like that's where a lot of the corruption and corrupting factors come in, and the need to
Mm.
like have to make money out of something
mhm.
that you spend time in or something like that. That leads to some of that. And then also there are nefarious characters in the system of things
Mhm.
that like enforce that. But there's a lot of figures in history like Alan Turing. There's I don't know, my professor was like a lineage of people that were talking and doing different things in terms of furthering the computation. So it's trying not to lean on great man history. It's a unified effort.
it's-
But I
it's
do like great
always-
man history though.
So out of out of these noble individuals who are actually pushing for the greater of mankind, I'm also a little skeptical. Again, I'm like, perhaps I bring a valuable viewpoint because I'm
Yeah, that's
like,
good.
I'm kind of a little bit more like old guy like oriented, like where I'm
No,
like,
but
you
that's
don't need the
that's a good
TikTok and
I think that skepticism is good because
and it is healthy. But I guess my question, and I'm looking to you to enlighten me, would be like, what is the general benefits that these pioneers are striving toward in order to benefit the common man?
well, I feel like with a lot of things, as we like delve into more topics in history and like you get to know us more,
Mm-hmm.
everyone wants to live in like a utopic type of thing or like a place with like no stress or like if I'm not supposed to be here, I enforce my will and I create meaning and I hope that meaning is very cozy
Mm.
or
So
like
it's a matter
very
of comfort.
I feel like it's a matter of creating a vision of your will that you want to exist in, and I feel like some of the problems stem from that in some respects.
Where is where is the beneficial line drawn between a cozy existence and Wall-E, for example.
See, like, but Wally's fun. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Because
I,
Shouts out to
it's
Wally and
it's
Pixar.
it is a real story. Like, if you think about it,
Sure.
in the beginning of the movie, he's like of every other bot. Like, he has no thought and no emotion. It's only after being alone for certain. I guess you know what's crazy.
What's that?
Wally is like, we have to watch that movie because I
We
think
should.
I'm
because
with it. I love
I
that
think
movie.
Wally is like a little existentialist because if you think about it,
I really
Wally-
forgot the premise, but
in the beginning, Wally is not sentient until he's alone for a really, really long time. So maybe
Really?
the loneliness is what's baked into the human existence and why he became such a like a cheerful and little robot.
you could
this-
say originally he wasn't supposed to be there. But
Yeah, he was not supposed to be there because they left him, and he was supposed to think all the rest of the robots disintegrated because they were working. He was still doing his job,
Mhm.
finding the meaning in the little things,
Mm,
and he gained sentience. I think he's a sentient robot.
mm.
And in the eyes of the film, because he's a character.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting point
Mm.
in terms
So
of
so again, what would you say is like the beneficial line drawn between like some like just zombified, individual consumer versus like, oh wow, this breakthrough technology is actually for the better of humankind. What attributes?
I feel like it's a mix of both because something can have an implicit and explicit meaning that like when you create a tool of any kind, it has the regular effects, the stated intentions and stated consequences, and then you have the unintended consequences that you
Mm.
can't like.
really
um,
control.
Yeah, like there was a section of, I'm gonna shout him out because it was John Oliver.
Okay.
He talked about how
In his
fa-
AI episode.
yeah, in his AI episode, he talked about how Facebook did not originally intention to belittle adolescent kids and their self-esteem, but it was an unintended consequence of the site and the way that was structured. Which is why I'm like very structuralist in terms of like I look at a system and see how it has stated intended consequences and unintended consequences,
Mm.
and how that kind of ties into the AI conversation. The way that the algorithm works is very non-biased. It's very mathematical, but
Mhm.
people are not mathematical. Like we don't think in the terms of like we look at the bucket and we see the contents
Mhm.
instead of just moving box over to box.
Mhm.
And that a computer kind of just moves box over to box without like really intending to
Much
do much.
emotion.
Yeah, much emotion. And I feel like, and even if you were to program an emotionally intelligent robot, there'll still be like a little lack because it's
Yeah.
programmed.
Mm.
Same way we have like some, like even people are I think are programmable beings. Given
Mhm.
like
Absolutely.
if you give a person a good environment, they can do great things. But if you give
Truly.
that same person a bad environment, they can go down a different path.
Mhm.
And it's up to the reason why we have like people of different like backgrounds and everything is because they make individual choices every day,
Mhm.
and those choices lead to different factors. But the environment makes a profound effect on a person, and
Absolutely.
yeah, that profound effect could like change and manifest how you react to certain things. So you take in a certain input and you do a different output based on previous inputs and outputs,
Mm.
like machine learning.
So, what was the question I was gonna ask? Oh yeah. So, again, I'm really coming from the vantage point of like the outside looking in.
Oh yeah, you don't like AI.
Not to say that I don't, but like
Hmm.
I'm like again, I'm kind of like
You're like, why, though?
apprehensive, like old guy to put it in silly
So
terms.
like, what's
but
your sort of like stated standpoint?
say that again?
What's like your stated standpoint? Like, is
Stated
is it
standpoint.
is it like
I mean, I like that's I guess I mean it I would say my standpoint kind of reflects in like the questions that I've asked you, like what is really the benefit? Like
yeah,
where are
like
we
what's the
really
point of this?
where are we really going? Like do I need to have this like incredibly filtered, diced out or just like cut up and spliced prepackaged beautifully experience, or like should I just take shit like, you know, raw head on and like just take life for what it naturally is? And also, again, I'm like leaning in a little bit more like conservatively in terms of like, do these people who are running these multi-billion-dollar corporations have their best intentions for my and the public's behalf, or are they just like churning this, I mean, incredibly infinite capital? You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, but, I mean, we're
You see the
all
perks of it. Here.
yeah, and I mean there are really incredible perks to it. But I guess a follow up question that I had was like, um, from my limited understanding, I know that also the pace in which this technology is developing is again at a breakneck speed. And again, I understand that sometimes this technology moves faster than like these like decrepit senators and lawmakers,
Yeah,
what have you,
they've been moving kind of slow.
can compute.
They
No
stay
pun
moving
intended.
slow.
Stay moving very
But
slow.
it's like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think like unfiltered, essentially unmonitored. Like again,
Yeah,
I'm just a
I know
little
what you mean.
apprehensive as towards like, is this within our best interest?
No, that's to be honest, that's a lot of my concerns too. Um, as a person that's like trying to be in the field in general.
What
Yeah, some of the what you want to say anything?
what's your status
Yeah,
standpoint?
what's your take?
Um, is AI technology a bad thing or a good thing?
Sure. Or yeah, just general standpoint,
A
regardless of good or bad.
general standpoint. I mean, I don't know. I don't. I see it like anything. There's good and bad, and essentially it's a tool, and those tools aren't inherently good or bad. It's just how you use it.
Yeah.
Now, I guess that brings the question: are we in a good or bad society?
Yeah, like
Overall,
how do you
will they
feel
will
how do you
they
like feel like it's gonna be used in your opinion? Because
For control.
I mean, I feel okay. I want to talk to you about control, but you go first.
um I think we live in if we're talking specifically about
Mm-hmm.
America, I think we live in a very money driven society, and
Yeah.
anything developed will be used and pushed in that direction, um, regardless of how useful it is or how unuseful it is. If there's money to be made, that's going to be the number one goal, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah, that's
and I say unfortunately because I think that eventually there will come a point of excess,
yeah.
like with most things,
Sheesh, if
and
we're
that's
not
going to
in it
run its
already.
usefulness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
if we're
mean,
not there already. But I mean, the good thing about that is, I guess the bright note, if I have to find a silver lining, is a lot of times with that, things become ubiquitous. They become shouts out to ubiquitous. I believe that I've used that
ubiquitous
word
is a
like
beautiful word.
It really
I've
is.
used that
Can
word
somebody
on
define
both
it for me?
episodes so far.
I'm about to look
so
up the textbook definition because I can talk about.
I think
ubiquitous.
I'm going to use that word every episode. I think
Yeah.
I might as well make it a thing. So start the drinking game, people.
Ubiquity.
Hey.
But I think that the good thing in that is that it tends to become accessible to everybody.
Yes, because
know.
like it's kind of like the podcast. It's like I said it last episode. I can't say the word because I think it was democratizes. Yeah, democratizes access, and I think that's a good thing because let's say for ChatGPT, for instance, I don't know how to type up the resume in like the most professional sounding format, whatever the standard of professional is, which I think is a little outdated and influenced by past things that we kind of don't really question. But generally speaking, let's say I want to create a resume, it helps you create it and gives you an example. And it could, with very small inputs, meaning that someone uh, can speak to like the things that they've done and, or like maybe can get information on the topic that they could later on use and be like, hey, this is something good. So I think that's like the useful part of AI.
Mm-hmm.
It cleases that like the internet is a repository of human information and thoughts. I don't have to like me as a person. In order for me to understand or know some of the facts I do now, like it would have been impossible ages ago because of like um the need to buy a book or like the need to buy a book, the need to go to the library all the time. So just the opportunity cost of losing out on going to the library and not doing something else that I'd rather do, or having to constantly like buy books to be educated, to buy just like a monetary thing. It's like a filter.
So you're saying that that is a beneficial aspect, is instead of having to go to the library, buy these books, you can just access this kind of like quick shot, quick
Yeah,
draw.
like imagine if I had to figure out what like ubiquitous is, like even though we know the meaning of the word, like and I could gain it from context clues, uh, I would have to like go to the library, rent out a dictionary,
Imagine, yeah, it's
like go like
year 1950.
1950.
Christian, figure out what ubiquitous means.
Figure out what ubiquitous means. Like if my parents didn't buy me like a dictionary or something at home, I had to go out to the library, go find the definition, go check it out.
Maybe
if they let me.
knock on your neighbor's door, like,
I was
"Yo,
gonna
y'all got
say,
a
yeah, if
dictionary
you
by
haven't
chance?"
asked someone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
like-
this is like if nobody knows the word. Like let's say
Okay.
it's not ubiquitous for this, but let's say it's existentialism,
Mhm.
and how could I know more?
yeah.
You have to like find specific books and then find out which philosophers talk about this specific branch of this specific
Mhm.
portion of metaphysics or something, and you're just
Right.
like, what? Just the access is kind of difficult. And imagine like we live in New York City; it's a little bit easier for us. But
Mhm.
like I'm sure like
dude, rural Kansas or
rural
something. Like,
Kansas,
Mhm.
Wisconsin, I have to climb over a mountain and stuff. Like I'll be tight. Like just to find like
if you're in Texas, you have to ride a horse. To,
yeah.
have to ride a horse.
I don't know. You guys can speak on that. You guys
You
can
gotta
Shout out
stop
Texas.
for water,
Right?
Yeah,
dude,
like-
it's a journey. It's a
But no,
journey.
that is a strong argument. Something I didn't particularly consider, because we just get to ride off the backs of those who paved the way.
Yeah.
Have an iPhone in our pocket.
And I think to add on to that, to create some balance to it, it eliminates some steps.
Yeah.
But in eliminating those steps, it eliminates some of the work, and sometimes that eliminates some of the appreciation, and that also, in ways, good ways or bad ways, I think, makes us, what's the word? A little lazier.
You're about to say
Yeah,
it makes us
Because
dumber.
I think the
Yeah,
work.
or dumber, are a little less
It's-
equipped. I mean, they're because they're functions of our brain that
Yeah.
we, you know what I'm saying, or functions that we, I just don't want to say our brain, but
Yeah.
because if you're talking
Yeah.
about physically going somewhere, that's going to,
Yeah.
talk about other parts of the body, but that they're functions that we don't use anymore.
Mhm.
Things that
It's
think-
like it's like if you look at it like as like an analogy, you have like vestigial organs, like you have your appendix. It's like one day if we had like to use that thing, but like we I don't appreciate my appendix at all. Like that thing could burst and kill me. Like I don't I do not appreciate my appendix. But someone in the past like that helped
Mhm.
them digest their food.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like now when we create
So that's-
things that like make it so that like we create tools that make it so that we don't need some of our functions, we lose out on some things, and sometimes that's for the better, because I think
Mm.
my appendix is useless, but also at the same time I'm sure my ancestors don't appreciate me not appreciating my appendix.
They
like,
don't appreciate the appendix slander.
yeah, like exactly, like they're like, oh my gosh, I feel triggered. Like
I need that.
Like that helped me digest this really hard plant that you can't even eat anymore. Like you bum. Like what's wrong with you?
Bomb. So let's see, something that to also quote your aforementioned John Oliver piece on AI, which
Great
gave
piece.
me again, an outsider looking in, a pretty comprehensive understanding of, I guess, the current status, given it's an ever developing topic.
Yeah,
and
this
art
topic is
form.
very huge, very great.
But I guess also one of my main takeaways from that piece was just basically that, in a summarized sense, paraphrasing, that he said that as of now, there's really no sentient presence or intelligence, if you will, or personality. And this ties into your thought of the internet as a repository of our thoughts,
Yeah.
which would be if the current status is it's basically, we'll say layman's terms here, scraping every tidbit of the internet for a comprehensive, laid out, simplistic answer. At what point do we hypothetically transfer into this thing is living, thinking, strategizing within its own free will? At
It-
what point do we cross that threshold?
It's kind of hard to say, but
Or-
I may have like a reference. So
Watch you like be the most quoted like individual for AI.
that would be
like
elite.
We turn
that
back
would
to
be
the right
elite.
here.
You wanted to say something first, though.
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So if you look at a human person, we have like a big old strand of DNA, right? And our DNA, only a small portion codes for like our traits and like something. And then we have a bunch of like instructions that are like a bunch of like DNA that's just like there. So imagine like, but like it's an important function of like our being.
Mm.
So like I was watching this video, I think it was Kurt Zagat on YouTube, and it was talking about like how that could probably be like, they don't know for sure, but that could be like the, I'll use the term algorithms, or like the coding instructions to how to code instructions.
Meaning our DNA.
It's already in our DNA. So our DNA codes instructions. So like you have C, G, T, and whatever other variable that they like to use, and those like create those like gene. Those are like gene expressions, and then those
Mhm.
gene expressions like give like meaning to like whether your eyes are a certain color or something like that.
So, are you saying that within our DNA
Yeah.
coding, that same concept can be applied towards
Towards
artificial
artificial intelligence, yes.
Okay.
So, the same way that we code the building blocks, the DNA codes the building blocks for the building blocks to make something.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could make a computer that we can code the building blocks for it, right?
Mm.
And those building blocks are then used to create something on its own.
Mm.
So I think we would have to create an AI machine that has its own Frankenstein moment to then create life and sentience.
Mm.
And I think that would be like that would be the way, because I don't think we can create it.
So
Because,
it
like-
would, we could only like lay the groundwork for it to spark itself, or what?
Yeah, essentially. I think that would be the only way to do it.
I'm scared.
I think it's valid because think about like how like a baby's born, or
Mhm.
like you have like, we create like the mitosis of the cells, but on its own it has to create and develop the different
Mm.
appendages and everything, and then you just give it out to the world when you're done. Yeah, childbirth. Shout out everyone.
Shout out to childbirth.
Shout out to
Shout out to childbirth.
shout out to
All
childbirth.
experience it.
Yeah.
You
Made
know
me
it, I
cry.
know it.
I cried.
Had me crying. My mom will never let me like forget how long she was in labor for me.
Were you a big baby? I could see you being a big baby.
I think I'm still a big baby.
Well, I mean, allow me to clarify. Like weight wise, I was a fat baby.
You were a fat baby.
Fat baby,
how
like
big were you?
pushing 9 pounds
Woo,
tight. Yeah, I
9
was-
pounds.
I
Oh
was
my
big
gosh.
Oh, geez.
That's a wow. That's a turkey.
That's a healthy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
sheesh.
That's
What-
Thankfully, I wasn't on the menu, but
Oh,
yeah.
sheesh.
yes.
Oh,
But
man. yeah,
yeah,
I was in
I mean,
24 hours.
I don't know. That's really, I mean, and I guess I'm also trying to loosely pinpoint like it like what point would there be the steps, or what would the steps leading up to the spark of consciousness, like what would that be?
It's very difficult because we can't even discern what our own consciousness is. What's to say? Like
Seriously.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like the problem with a lot of these questions is that we don't know the answers ourselves, and
How does that make sense? I mean,
and
we
the problem that Lucas like highlighted before is that we're
Mm.
moving at breakneck speeds, just moving very, very carelessly in this respect.
something that I think illustrates, at least for me, again, the inexperienced individual with technology, is like, I've been off Instagram for a week, and it feels like I'm living on a remote island. But
It was good though.
it is good. It's been refreshing.
Good mental break.
But something that really, again, I think can illustrate the state of things is or again, like the speed at which this is all moving is I mean, again, right now it's like the end of March 2023, but something I've seen or something I've seen pop up just ever so frequently recently is like the stupid like Biden and Trump and Obama playing Call of Duty, you know, with their
Oh, those things are
voiceovers and
so funny
whatnot.
to me. I don't know.
They were funny
they
for
were
like
funny.
the
I-
first like two tops that I saw, in my opinion. But my point of it
Yeah.
is that is like, I mean, it's one thing, hee hee ha ha, like we're seeing it on a meme page, but like what really resonates with me the strongest is the
Yeah.
fact that like, yo, 6 months ago that was like a completely like unheard of thing, and that was like
Yeah.
that was nowhere to be sought out. Like we did not have that accessibility, and it's just like if we can do that now, like what is it going to be like in as limited as 10 years from now?
Yeah,
You know
like
what I mean?
they
Or what's
had-
already there that we don't
Wait,
have access
say,
to?
say that one more time.
Which part?
So what are you speaking about? I guess I'm not aware of the situation you're
So
talking
like
Really?
there's this like there's this meme and it's like Biden, Trump, and what do you call it? There's I wish we had a video screen that we could just show like the memes that we're looking at. Yo, Jamie, we gotta find someone named Jamie that just edits our videos and stuff. But so there's this like meme format, and it's just like Obama, Trump, and Biden, and they play Call of Duty, and what they do is they use their vocal like recording snippets, and then they use like AI to like map out the phrases that somebody wants to play, and then that's the thing. So that's like deep part of like deep fake technology.
deepfaking. Yeah.
So they did have
I've seen that before. I don't think I've seen it applied to Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's just like it's more so for their vocals.
Yeah.
So they were able to deep fake videos. They tried like to do audio syncing for sound and stuff. But yeah, I think what Lucas was like trying to say was that the accessibility to it, like the fact that a lot of people could program something like that, makes it so that it's a little scary to see like how that technology is going to be applied.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've seen that technology used. Of course, with Obama, they were making him say like weird out the wall stuff. I didn't see him play Call of Duty, and also there's a group of YouTubers. A lot of them are visual effects artists, but they've been exploring sort of the idea of deep fakes and what you can do, and they've made all sorts of crazy videos.
Yeah,
like
deep fakes are crazy.
yeah, Keanu Reeves in a store doing stuff, and just all sorts of weird stuff, and it's always interesting, and in ways it's always kind of scary too, because
It's a little disturbing because
it's not, because at this point it's not really perfect. Like there's still ways to tell, hey, that shit ain't real.
yeah.
But it's gonna get to a point where you're not gonna be able to tell. I think that's the scary part.
Yeah, I
Right.
feel like the internet brings. We'll talk about this like later. There's not really artificial intelligence, but it talks about. Well, the internet brings up a lot of questions of what is reality and simulated reality, and that's very scary because like you can't tell what's real anymore for certain things.